Thank you once again for clicking on my face. You must be back because I'm doing more Emmy talk. This is Best Actress in a Drama. Before I get started, I do want to jump in because I did watch the For Your Consideration team, and they did a video recently talking about the Emmys. They didn't actually predict anything. They just had an opening speech for 20 plus minutes. And within that speech, it was clear to me that they think The White Lotus is running in drama. I have it in comedy. I'm following Gold Derby, and they're the people whose literal jobs it is to try to track down award shows and predictions, and they have White Lotus listed in comedy. So I'm not ignoring White Lotus in case anybody's sitting around here thinking, oh, he hasn't said White Lotus yet. His predictions are incorrect. We haven't gotten there yet. So just in case you see somebody else out there, dropping Emmy thoughts and they're dropping White Lotus in drama, I would question that because Gold Derby seems to know who's running which campaign and which categories. I think at this point, if they thought White Lotus was running for drama, that they probably would have made that switch. Anyway, so moving on. Who's getting the actress nominations? Like I always said, you just gotta look to past nominations. This is actually a little bit harder this year because there's no Zendaya. So there's one nomination that's up for grabs, for sure, is the Zendaya spot. But otherwise, we do have some returning favorites that are going to make the cut. And I think one of those is going to be Melanie Lynskey for Yellow Jackets. I think this is one of those spots where Yellow Jackets gets to make its stance. It does have several actresses being submitted for lead, including Juliette Lewis, which I think is interesting. But Melanie Lynskey seems to be the clear front runner. I don't know if it can pick up more than one nomination here. My gut instinct says no. I don't think Yellow Jackets is quite at that level of strength yet. Just because it's coming from Showtime. I think Showtime, there are some distributors, sort of like Peacock and stuff, where I don't know. I don't know how strong it can actually get. I think Yellow Jackets needs a couple shows to drift away. And I know they're planning a special episode between seasons 2 and 3 to keep people going. It's possible season 3 may pop for them. Maybe their big thing, enough shows out of the way. Could be their year, but I think Melanie Lynskey is definitely going to get that nomination. I also think Elizabeth Moss is going to repeat here for The Handmaid's Tale. She pretty consistently is considered for The Handmaid's Tale. She's Elizabeth Moss. I mean, she's pretty much consistently considered all the time. Whether it's this, whether it's Mad Men. She's gotten several nominations over the years. She's a Emmy favorite. They like her show. She had one hell of a season trying to find her daughter and just being literally hit by a car. Anyway, so she had quite a season, and it felt very June-centric. So I think whatever she chose as her submission episode is probably strong enough to get her another nomination this year. Aside from that, we start stepping down a little bit in terms of how obvious a nominee somebody is. I think Emma Darcy for House of the Dragon has a really good shot here. Again, I think it's tough to predict how popular a new show will be with Emmy voters. The one thing that we have going for House of the Dragon is that it is Game of Thrones, And Game of Thrones was really popular with Emmy voters. So if they continue to watch House of the Dragon, which there's no reason to believe that they didn't because it still is a popular show, then Emma Darcy should probably come along with that. However, I did have Patty Considine bubbling just out of the top 6 in lead actor, so take that for what you will. I guess, if we're being honest, Sarah Snook, I think she might win. I just want to make sure she gets in. I want to make sure that enough people realize she moved into lead. That's the problem I always had with this show is I always thought it was asinine that Jeremy Strong ran in lead while Kieran Culkin and Sarah Snook ran in supporting. I thought it was like an ego thing for him because it didn't make any sense. To me, I'm watching the same show everybody else is watching. I didn't feel like he was necessarily in a disproportionate amount of screen time above Kieran Culkin and Sarah Snook. And for him to run in lead, it just didn't make sense to me. Plus, it also kind of put this unfair target on him, like he's supposed to be the one succeeding. Like, this whole story is about him, and it kind of makes it a little bit less suspenseful watching whether or not Kendall will get the seat. It makes it feel a little bit less like which one of the siblings will get the seat and more like will Kendall get the seat. So I was always against that. I think Jeremy Strong should have run in supporting, or Kieran Culkin and Sarah Snook should have been running lead the whole time. One of two things, but they all have the equal amount of screen time. So as long as voters follow Sarah Snook to the lead category, once she's in, she's going to win. This is your winner. I can't imagine people didn't look at this performance and go, yeah, I'm voting for that. It's the same thing. Like, we would have Rhea Seehorn here if she decided to run in lead. She's running in supporting. It's a smarter decision because you get 8 nominees in supporting. So she goes from being a probably in lead to a lock for supporting. Like, there's no way she doesn't get supporting actress nomination. So it's a smart decision. But I think Sarah Snook has, as long as people know that she changed categories and have paid enough attention to that and her campaign this year, then I think she'll be fine. My last 2 spots are a little bit more shaky. One of them is Imelda Staunton for The Crown. I do think she's going to get a nomination. I think, they recognize the previous 2 Elizabeths, at least with nominations. So I think it's Imelda Staunton. I feel like it'd be weird if her name wasn't called, but this was like the least acclaimed season of The Crown and seems to sort of have that waning popularity to it. It's possible that somebody else could come in and steal. There just aren't a lot of other options. But the one that I actually think is the weakest in the category is Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, even though she should be the strongest. Like, this should be a lock. She's so young. And yes, they gave it to Zendaya, and Zendaya broke barriers because she was the youngest person to win the leading actress Emmy. Bella Ramsey would break Zendaya's record. So, yeah, I'm hoping for it. It would be a tremendous shame and a crime against humanity for her to not be nominated for The Last of Us. But I do recognize the fact that I don't know if this voting body is going to nominate a child actress. There are very few instances in which this has been up for consideration, and most of the time that we see a solid child actor or actress performance, they end up not getting nominated. And that's also sort of an Oscars thing too. We end up sort of leaving them off the list. So those are my top 6. Bubbling sort of out of the top 6. I mean, who's most likely to get it? I know some people are talking about Kerry Russell for The Diplomat. The question there is, how many people are actually watching The Diplomat? How many Emmy voters are watching The Diplomat? Netflix doesn't really have a ton to submit this year. And Kerry Russell does have Emmy voters behind her for her time in The Americans. So it's possible that Kerry Russell could upset and sneak in a nomination here for that show. We do have the Taylor Sheridan ladies, Kelly Riley for Yellowstone and Helen Mirren for 1923. When Emmy voters start watching Taylor Sheridan shows, yeah, sure. I mean, we should be able to have a serious conversation about Helen Mirren being in the Best Actress race this year, but we can't because I don't think they watch their shows. Kelly Riley should have already had a nomination before. Kelly Riley, in my opinion, is the most overlooked actress currently on television. The fact that her Beth Dutton has not been nominated for an Emmy is probably the one thing. If somebody asks me which lack of nomination pisses you off currently the most, it's Kelly Riley for like a current series. It's not like ever of all time. A few years ago probably would have been Melissa McBride for The Walking Dead, because I still think the season that she was up for her Look at the Flowers episode and she didn't get nominated, it's just, I don't understand how that, I don't get it. But yeah, but definitely right now it's Kelly Riley, I think, is the one person. If she was the only nomination ever for Yellowstone, I would be happy. But this is the same voting body that had absolutely no problem snubbing Sons of Anarchy time after time after time. So and Katie Seagal. So I just don't think she's ever going to get nominated. Christine Baranski for The Good Fight. I mean, critics love that show. It's the final season, and it's sad that Christine Baranski's just going to walk away with nothing. She's just, I'm out. Peace out, yo. It's gone. I would love to see, I don't know, I'd love to see something crazy like Katja Herbers for Evil or something. Just throw it in there. But I don't know who else it would be at this point. I think the 6 are pretty solid, because I think the only person who could possibly get a nomination is Kerry Russell. The only other thing would be if Yellow Jackets overperformed and managed to also get a second nomination for one of the other actresses that's trying to run and lead for Yellow Jackets. So if that were to happen, maybe that's the surprise waiting to happen. But shockingly, it just seems like there are a whole bunch of performances that are just falling through the cracks, under the radar, and a lot of shows that nobody's really watching. We're not really talking about performances. We're not talking about, Chloe Grace Moretz in The Peripheral. Nobody's watching that. Nobody cares. That poor actress. She's really good in Queen Charlotte, but it doesn't seem to be registering with anybody that she's really good in Queen Charlotte. Yeah, I could come up with 1,000 instances of people who their performances just don't seem to hit anybody. Do I think Hilary Swank is going to get nominated for her already canceled Alaska Daily? I don't know. Why would... I mean, it's happened every once in a while where they nominate a show that's already been canceled as sort of like a middle finger to the network for canceling it. I just don't feel like that's going to be Alaska Daily. I mean, Hilary Swank has already been on TV in other roles and she didn't get nominated for them, so this isn't like her first... If this was like Sandra Bullock in Alaska Daily and this was like her first television performance, I'd be like, oh, well, maybe. This is the first time somebody's done TV work before. But it's Hilary Swank, and this is not her first TV show. So I think those 6 are pretty solid. I'm just a little bit worried about Bella Ramsey's age, and I'm a little bit worried about how much voters liked The Crown this past season. So that's it. Those are the 6. I hope you found this informative. And thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, I will come back with, I think we'll do Best Supporting Actor in a Drama next. I'll just go ahead and get drama series done before I jump into comedy. So make sure to click that subscribe button so you can be here for when that happens. Until then, I will see you guys on the other side.